Tensions between the United States and China have escalated once again, raising concerns over the future of trade relations between the two economic giants. Just days after a preliminary agreement aimed at pausing tariffs was reached in Geneva, the U.S. issued warnings against the use of Chinese chips, specifically targeting Huawei's Ascend series. This has prompted a robust response from Beijing, which has accused Washington of undermining the recently negotiated trade accord. On May 19, 2025, a spokesperson from China's Commerce Ministry criticized the U.S. for what was termed discriminatory guidance issued by the U.S. Commerce Department's Bureau of Industry and Security. The alert warned of the risks associated with using advanced computing integrated circuits (ICs) from China, asserting that such chips may have been developed or produced in violation of U.S. export controls. If the U.S. insists on its own way and continues to substantially damage China's interests, China will take resolute measures to safeguard its legitimate rights and interests, the spokesperson declared, reflecting Beijing's deep-seated frustrations. The timing of the U.S. warning is critical. It came just 2 days after President Donald Trump announced a temporary cessation of tariffs that had significantly affected trade flows. The agreement, which included a 90-day pause on tariffs that had previously surged to as high as 145%, was hailed as a constructive step forward. However, the subsequent restrictions on Huawei have raised questions about the stability of this truce. Analysts suggest that the U.S. is shifting its focus from tariffs to technology restrictions, a move that could further complicate relations. China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian expressed similar sentiments, urging the U.S. to abandon what he characterized as protectionist and unilateral bullying practices. He emphasized that the U.S. actions not only threaten Chinese companies but also endanger the security and stability of the global semiconductor supply chain. The implications of these developments are profound. The U.S. has long viewed Huawei as a national security threat, fearing that its technology could be exploited for espionage. Conversely, Beijing perceives such restrictions as an attempt to stifle its technological advancement and economic growth. Zhao Minghe, a professor at Fudan University, noted that the U.S. crackdown on Huawei's chips indicates a heightened anxiety in Washington regarding China's progress in technology, particularly in artificial intelligence and advanced semiconductor development. As tensions simmer, both nations seem to be preparing for a potential prolonged confrontation. Analysts highlight that while the U.S. appears to be tightening its grip on Chinese technology, China is bolstering its defenses by exploring self-reliance and establishing its own export controls. This strategic pivot may reshape the dynamics of the U.S.-China relationship, pushing both countries further into a decoupled technological landscape. In conclusion, while the temporary truce on tariffs offers a glimmer of hope for de-escalation, the recent developments surrounding Huawei suggest that the battleground is expanding into the realm of technology. As both nations navigate this complex landscape, the stakes are higher than ever, with the potential for significant impacts on global trade, innovation, and economic stability. Observers will be closely watching how this situation unfolds in the coming months, particularly as the 90-day tariff pause approaches its expiration. In a decisive move reflecting its commitment to fiscal discipline, the Chinese government has announced stringent new regulations aimed at curbing extravagant spending among officials, especially in relation to alcohol and tobacco. This initiative is part of a broader austerity drive that seeks to instill a culture of frugality within the government, echoing similar efforts initiated in 2013. The recent guidelines, jointly issued by the Communist Party Central Committee and the State Council, underscore a proactive approach to addressing wasteful expenditures at various levels of government, an issue that has become increasingly pressing amid mounting national debts. The new regulations, described as the most detailed and stringent since the onset of the austerity campaign, target a range of excessive practices, from curtailing lavish meals and extravagant decorations at official events to limiting the use of state vehicles. These measures aim to redefine the standards of government spending. As articulated in the official announcement, all government officials are reminded that it's glorious to save and it's shameful to waste. This mantra is intended to cultivate a sense of responsibility and accountability among public servants while reinforcing the government's commitment to transparency and efficiency. Analysts suggest that the renewed focus on austerity stems from growing concerns over the fiscal health of local governments, many of which have incurred substantial debts in recent years. By tightening the reins on government spending, Beijing aims to minimize waste and redirect resources toward more productive areas, potentially enhancing economic stability in the long term. The shift is indicative of a broader trend within China's leadership to balance economic growth with responsible fiscal management, particularly as the nation navigates a complex global economic landscape. This austerity campaign comes at a time when China is also seeking to reaffirm its diplomatic and economic ties with other nations. On the same day these spending guidelines were announced, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi held talks with Danish counterpart Lars Løkke Rasmussen in Beijing. The two countries celebrated the 75th anniversary of their diplomatic relations with discussions centered on enhancing cooperation in various sectors including trade and sustainable development. Wang emphasized China's commitment to maintaining an open investment environment and fostering mutual respect in international relations. As both nations look to strengthen their partnership, they reaffirmed their support for multilateralism and free trade, highlighting the importance of collaboration amid rising global tensions. Wang and Rasmussen's meeting signals a shared understanding of the challenges facing the international order and the necessity for countries to work together to address pressing issues such as economic decoupling and climate change. Looking ahead, the implications of China's renewed austerity measures and diplomatic engagements will likely play a crucial role in shaping the country's economic and political landscape. As officials adapt to the new regulations, the effectiveness of these policies in curbing wasteful spending will be closely monitored. Meanwhile, China's diplomatic efforts with countries like Denmark may pave the way for enhanced global cooperation, potentially influencing how other nations approach their economic policies in an increasingly interconnected world. The coming months will be pivotal as China seeks to balance internal fiscal discipline with its ambitions on the global stage. Navigating both domestic and international expectations. As the impact of trade tensions escalates, China's economic landscape is beginning to show signs of strain. Recent reports indicate a significant slowdown in various sectors, including retail sales, property investments, and industrial production, as the trade war initiated by former President Donald Trump continues to take its toll. With tariffs soaring as high as 145% on numerous goods, both domestic and international markets are feeling the repercussions. Data released by the National Statistics Bureau revealed that retail sales in April rose only 5.1% year-on-year, falling short of economists' expectations of a 6% increase. This weak performance is largely attributed to consumer hesitance stemming from a prolonged downturn in the housing market, which serves as a significant source of household wealth in China. The current overall price level is low, which puts pressure on production, noted Fu Linghui, a spokesperson for the Bureau, emphasizing the urgent need for price recovery to stimulate consumer spending. In terms of industrial production, while it still showed a year-on-year increase of 6.1%, this marked a notable deceleration from the 7.7% growth seen in March. Analysts point to the ongoing trade barriers as a primary factor curtailing exports and ultimately affecting output. Louise Liu, an economist at Oxford Economics, remarked export-driven gains in factory output could continue, but this is coming at a persistent deflationary cost. The temporary truce in tariffs, which paused for 90 days to facilitate negotiations, has provided some relief, but the underlying volatility remains a concern for manufacturers. Investment in fixed assets, including factories and equipment, rose by 4% in the first 4 months of 2025. However, the property sector is facing a more challenging environment, with investments plummeting by 10.3% year-on-year during the same period. Lin Song, chief economist for Greater China at ING Economics, highlighted the complexity of the situation, stating tariff-related pessimism and uncertainty kept more buyers on the sidelines in April. As new home prices continue to decline, the uneven recovery in the housing market poses a significant obstacle to broader economic stability. Amid these challenges, the Chinese government is taking measures to bolster domestic demand and mitigate the impact of external shocks. Fu Linghui reiterated the importance of job creation and maintaining consumer confidence. However, the ongoing deflationary pressures complicate these efforts as shoppers remain reluctant to spend, anticipating better deals in the future. On the other side of the Pacific, American consumer sentiment has also taken a hit, reflecting growing concerns over inflation tied to the ongoing trade war. As these dynamics unfold, the interconnectedness of the global economy becomes increasingly apparent, with both nations grappling to stabilize their respective markets. Looking ahead, the future trajectory of China's economy will depend on several factors, including the resolution of trade negotiations and the effectiveness of domestic policies aimed at stimulating growth. As China navigates this precarious economic terrain, the ongoing trade war will undoubtedly remain a pivotal element influencing its recovery and overall economic health. The coming months will be critical in determining whether the nation can consolidate its economic foundation or if further turmoil lies ahead. Amid escalating geopolitical tensions, recent revelations shed new light on China's intricate role in the long-standing conflict between Pakistan and India. As both nations grapple with their historical disputes, the influence of China has emerged as a crucial factor that could reshape the dynamics in South Asia. Historically, China has maintained a complex relationship with Pakistan, often viewed as a strategic ally against India. However, the depth of this partnership appears to extend beyond mere diplomatic ties. Recent analyses indicate that China's involvement in the region may be more profound and multifaceted than previously understood. According to experts, Beijing's strategic interests in Pakistan are not solely about countering India, they are also aimed at establishing a foothold that can project power across the region and beyond. One of the most notable elements of this relationship is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor (CPC), which is part of China's Belt and Road Initiative (BRI). This extensive infrastructure project aims to enhance connectivity between China and Pakistan, enabling Beijing to secure vital trade routes and energy supplies. As part of CPC, China has invested billions in various sectors including energy and transportation, thereby solidifying its influence in Pakistan. This has raised concerns in India, which views the corridor as an encroachment on its strategic interests. Recent statements from U.S. lawmakers underscore the rising apprehension regarding China's military expansion and its implications for global security. A bipartisan group of senators has introduced legislation aimed at countering China's growing military presence worldwide, citing its establishment of military bases in strategic locations including parts of Latin America and Africa. This legislative effort highlights the perceived threat posed by China's expansionist policies and its potential to alter the balance of power in regions far beyond its immediate borders. The rapid expansion of China's military presence poses significant risks not only to the United States but also to its allies in the Indo-Pacific and other operational theaters, Senator Tim Kaine remarked. The proposed legislation aims to create a comprehensive strategy to assess and mitigate these threats, reflecting a growing recognition of the need for a coordinated response to China's assertive actions. As tensions rise, particularly concerning China's ambitions in Taiwan and the South China Sea, the international community is closely monitoring China's maneuvers in Pakistan and India. The interconnectedness of these regional conflicts may lead to a broader confrontation, echoing the dynamics of a new Cold War scenario. Looking forward, the implications of China's deepening involvement in Pakistan-India relations are profound. Should Beijing succeed in expanding its influence further, it could embolden its strategic objectives in the region, potentially destabilizing the already fragile balance between India and Pakistan. As analysts observe, the international community must remain vigilant and responsive to the evolving landscape, where every development could have far-reaching consequences for global security and stability. In a world increasingly defined by geopolitical rivalries, The role of China in South Asia serves as a reminder of the complexities of modern diplomacy and the delicate balance that nations must navigate. As tensions continue to simmer, the potential for conflict remains ever present, urging stakeholders to seek dialogue and cooperation in the face of escalating challenges. In a landscape defined by complex geopolitical maneuvering, the recent truce on tariffs between the United States and China, announced during talks in Geneva, has offered a fleeting glimmer of hope for de-escalation in their protracted trade war. However, the fragile agreement, which pauses tariffs for 90 days, appears to have quickly unraveled as tensions reignited over technology and national security. The U.S. has imposed a global ban on Huawei Technologies' Ascend AI chips, citing export control violations and national security concerns, prompting Beijing to accuse Washington of long-arm jurisdiction and a campaign of malicious blockade against its tech industry. Lin Jian, a spokesman for China's foreign ministry, expressed vehement opposition to the U.S. actions, urging an end to what he described as protectionist and unilateral bullying practices. Analysts suggest that this latest move signals U.S. President Donald Trump's intention to broaden the battleground beyond tariffs, focusing on tightening technology restrictions aimed at curbing China's ambitions in artificial intelligence and semiconductor development. Zhao Minghe, a professor at Fudan University, characterized the ban on Huawei as significant, reflecting Washington's increasing apprehension regarding the tech giant's advancements. While the U.S. seeks to tighten its grip on technology exports, analysts argue that China is better equipped to counter these restrictions than in previous years. Beijing's response is expected to include a mix of export controls and a push for self-reliance in key technologies, emphasizing its determination not to be vulnerable to foreign sanctions. This proactive stance indicates a strategic shift in China's approach as it prepares to navigate the evolving landscape of global technology competition. Simultaneously, the geopolitical landscape is shifting, with new alliances and partnerships emerging in response to the growing tensions. For instance, recent discussions between Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul underscored the potential for enhanced cooperation between China and the European Union, particularly in the context of resolving trade disputes over electric vehicles. Wang emphasized the importance of cooperation, especially as 2025 marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and the EU. Wadephul echoed these sentiments, reinforcing Germany's commitment to constructive relations with China while addressing differences through dialogue. As China positions itself as a significant player in global governance, the country has also published its first-ever white paper on national security, signaling a shift toward a more assertive foreign policy stance. This document encapsulates China's ambition to redefine its role on the world stage, moving from a historically cautious approach to one that embraces its status as an indispensable global actor. The white paper reflects a comprehensive view of national security that encompasses economic, political, and technological dimensions, reinforcing the notion that security and development are now intertwined priorities. China's new approach to national security coincides with its efforts to expand its influence through initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative (BRI), which aims to create a web of economic partnerships across Asia and beyond. As China's regional strategies evolve, its relations with India remain particularly complex, shaped by historical grievances and contemporary power dynamics. The ongoing Sino-Indian rivalry is characterized by a mixture of competition and cooperation, with both nations navigating their respective roles in a multipolar world order. As the U.S.-China trade tensions continue to unfold, the implications for global supply chains and technology markets are significant. The recent actions taken by both nations highlight the fragility of international relations in an era marked by rapid technological advancements and geopolitical rivalries. Analysts believe that the next phase of this competition will not only reshape the economic landscape but also redefine alliances and partnerships across the globe. Looking ahead, the interplay between technology, trade, and national security will likely intensify, with both the U.S. and China seeking to assert their dominance in critical industries. For businesses and governments alike, The evolving dynamics signaled the need for adaptability and strategic foresight in navigating a landscape marked by uncertainty and competition. As the world watches closely, the outcomes of these geopolitical maneuvers will have far-reaching consequences for the balance of power in the 21st century.